Let's talk about a movie called Wendy. Wendy
Okay.
is the newest film from director Benh Zeitlin, who co-wrote the film with Eliza Zeitlin, who I do not know the specific relation, to be totally honest with you.
Mhm.
And I've seen this film. Cory, will neither of you have seen it?
No, it's not here yet.
Yeah. I will make this brief. This premiered at the Sundance Film Festival last month. That's when I saw it. It had a limited release from Searchlight this past week. And for those of you who don't know, we also talked about it in our winter movie preview. It was a film that I was really looking forward to. It was one of my highest anticipated. And a big reason is because Benh Zeitlin directed Beasts of the Southern Wild. And I love the premise of this. I think that director is great at directing young children. Beasts of the Southern Wild, I think, is a very thrilling movie. It gets a little bit of backlash these days, but I still think it's very effective.
Oh, I
And
love that movie.
this movie, Wendy, is sort of a reimagining of the Peter Pan, the classic Peter Pan story, originally by J.M. Barrie. And it follows Wendy Darling, not as a British debutante in the early 19th or 20th century, but instead it follows a young girl in the modern day in sort of the heartland of America. She lives in a diner with her mother and her twin younger brothers, and they live a bit of a humble existence, but they're sort of a call of the wild, as we might mention in some terms later in this episode, where she feels a little bit like life is right outside the door of her waitressing job at the ripe age of 7 or 8 years old. And as it happens, a young boy named Peter one day shows up on these trains that come by, played by Joshua Mack. And Peter entices Wendy, who's played by Devin France, and her young twin brothers Douglas and James, played by Gage and Gavin Naquin, to come along with Peter to Neverland, the Neverland that we of course know from the classic stories, which in this case is both very different from the Neverland you know, but in some thematic ways very similar. And I have to say, when this film first introduces these young children to Neverland and they go on this thrilling journey to explore the island and live life at their full throat, this movie shines. I mean, it's spectacular. It's dazzling. I mean, you're just entranced with these kids. And it was at that point in the movie where I was like, I'm really spellbound by this. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really getting something out of this reckless adventure by these kids, to the point where I was getting the feeling that I had during Where the Wild Things Are, of this impending destruction that could be coming about at any moment. And because both films are sort of framed very similarly in terms of like the only thing that will break the monotony of suburban youth is the adventures that we get from our movies and TV shows and stories and everything. And when that film was on that level, was really working, and then rules enter. And the film takes a turn toward the unremarkable that robs it of everything that I was so enamored with concerning the premise and the world building and these young characters. And we go from a movie where these kids are just shining to a movie where these kids are slogging just through the most lackluster plot. I wanted to walk out, because the more I felt like I was watching this film, the less I was feeling impacted by what was so good about the opening 20-30 minutes. Wendy is a not great film, and what partly makes it not great is how great it could have been. And I'm a little heartbroken by this movie. So much of it was exactly what I was looking for at the movies, and I'm just sad to say that. And I know some people, it's working for them all right. Right now it has a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's not being critically panned all the way. But I don't know. I don't know, Will or Cory, how you would react to the film. It's low budget, $6 million. Honestly, like, it's the kind of film that you'd be like, $6 million? This looks like a $2 to $3 million film, honestly.
Okay, I was gonna say same budget as Invisible Man, basically.
Almost. The box office, not quite as similar, $30,000, which is absolutely just not great so far. So not a film that I think Searchlight has a lot of hope for. Cory Woodruff, friend of the show, fellow enchanter of youth culture. Are you going to be checking out Wendy, or have you heard anything about this movie? Where are you at with this one?
Well, Beasts of the Southern Wild is literally one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years. So I have been waiting for Benh Zeitlin to come back for a very long time. Wendy has been in development for like half a decade.
Yeah.
Like they have been talking about this movie for a very, 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 very long time. I guess it's not a great sign, I think, for just the film's general visibility that it's kind of being dumped. It seems like Searchlight is just trying to kind of burn it off the books in a way.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this. They announced the film in 2015. They shot it in 2017, and it's been on the shelf for 3 years.
Yeah, which is not great. I think Benh Zeitlin is a hyper talented director. One of the things that really endears me from a lot of the criticisms I see of the film is like, well, it's not poorly directed. It's just that all the issues stem from the script, maybe stem from some performances. Like, that it's still like it's evident that he's a very talented person who seems to have just kind of swung and missed with this. And maybe, but I read people that some really like it, and some people really are kind of like you said, enchanted by what's going on. So I'm very hopeful. I'll see it probably a week from tomorrow, I think. That's when the Nashville press screening is, so I'm definitely hopeful for it. I really don't want to not like it. It's kind of one of those movies that I've been really excited about for a long time, so it's like my fingers are crossed tight. But obviously, my film taste, if I had to find two people that probably share my opinion on film like 80% of the time, it's you two. So if one of you doesn't like it, it doesn't leave me quite as hopeful, but I'm still crossing my fingers.
I hope you still see it for yourself, and I hope you prove me wrong and say something in it that I didn't. I give the film a C. A C for Captain Hook.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate Hook so much. I could do like an 8-hour podcast on how much
You're
I don't.
a crook, Captain Hook.
I'm going to throw the book at that movie.
You were going to say something, Will, before Cory said something stupid about Hook?
Oh. I was quoting Arrested. I was quoting Arrested Development.
Oh.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I know we haven't mentioned on this episode, but we've talked a lot about your Peter Pan bias, where you tend to have negative to outright, I would say mean thoughts on the property. So
the only Peter Pan movie I like, or the only thing with Peter Pan in it that I like, is the animated movie and the Disney movie, or the Hook movie. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Hook is flawed, but I at least admire it for a lot of different things.
I like it a lot. It's effective.
I thought the 2003 one was fine. I thought, I enjoyed it when I saw it at the time. I haven't thought about it much, except when people bring up Peter Pan movies.
Even as you talk about, I just want to boo you, but I know that would sound really bad. Like, boo, no, I'm not gonna do it.
Sure.
But boo.
I mean, Pan.
Oh, boy. What a movie made for like variety headlines.
Pan at least looks pretty.
Does it?
It looks. There's some scenes in Pan that look really nice.
Maybe the part where the ship is like abducting the children, but even then, I feel weird saying that.
There's like a couple forest scenes I remember looking really nice. I mean, I don't know. I also think Pan's one of those movies that gets criticized mainly for one scene, like in the scheme of things. Well, two scenes, but I feel like most of the criticisms derive from two different scenes, so I don't think it's quite as bad as people make it out to be. But I don't know. I mean, it's not a film I've really held in any high regard or any regard since I've seen it. So I guess that'll probably carry over.
Yeah,
to
we're not
Wendy.
doing the 8-hour podcast of Peter Pan yet, but that is a good concept. But all right, let's finish.
Never ending podcast.
Oh no, you're already workshopping titles, which sounds like it's totally going to be a thing now. So yeah. I guess that's the case.